Hello everyone and welcome to another Marvel Crisis Protocol Battle Report. Today for you we have the X-Men on the table, everything from the Wave 1 release, as the Uncanny X-Men take on the Brotherhood of Mutants in a 14 threat match. However, just to get out of the way, the Brotherhood miniatures add up to 15 threats, so they've got a 1 threat advantage that they shouldn't have. This is mostly just trying out the new miniatures. It's not meant to be super duper balanced, so just to keep that in mind right from the off, the Brotherhood have a 1 threat advantage. But we're going to put the two teams against each other against the X-Men specific missions to see how they do. With that out of the way, let's take a closer look at the teams. So here are the 14 threat of Uncanny X-Men, being led by Storm, although if you want to, Cyclops can also be the leader. They both have different affiliation bonus leadership abilities. Storm's is that if you're being attacked outside of range 2, you count as having cover, so 1 guaranteed success on defense, and also once per turn someone not holding objective can be moved within 1 closer to another ally within 2, so it's like an extra inch of movement, not that big. The cover, however, is very interesting. So we do have Storm, we have Cyclops just backing people up with eye lasers, we have Wolverine wanting to claw things, and we have Beast who wants to say stars and garters, an awful lot. And their tactics cards are To Me My X-Men, First Class, Children of Adam, Weapon X Program, and Exceptional Healing. And the cards you're going to see today, a lot of them do not have a cost associated, you just have to use them at a certain time, which is a new mechanic as far as I'm aware as far as tactics cards go, so that's interesting. We'll be seeing what First Class does in round 1 almost certainly. And here are the Brotherhood of Mutants. Also 4 miniatures, being led by Magneto. His affiliation bonus is that once per turn, so anyone's turn within a round, if a train feature is destroyed, he distributes power equal to its size to his teammates or himself, which is really good. He has 2 metal constructs, we'll cover what those do in the power phase of round 1. We have Toad, he just hangs around. We have Sabretooth, and we have Mystique, who could also be a leader of the Brotherhood if you want. And their tactics cards, Deception, the Book of Truth, Asteroid M, Magnetic Refraction, and Magnetic Crush. So these are the 2 new missions that came with the X-Men Wave 1 releases. This is the threat value being played on the Extraction, 14. Mutant extremists target US senators. There's 3 safe houses on the map. Don't know which is which. You flip them over when you check them, and if it is the senator, you protect/kidnap, depending on your perspective in the battle, and you get 2 victory points if you're holding him in the cleanup phase. You move short if you're holding the senator, and that's about it. You have to pay to pick him up if he gets dropped. The other threat value was 18 threat on the secure. Mutant Madmen turns city into lethal amusement park. There's 4 traps. You have to roll equal to greater than the number of enemy healthy characters nearby on your physical, not energy, crits, hits and wilds. Do that, you claim it. For each one you claim you get 1 victory point, and then also during the cleanup phase you can hit an enemy within 2 of each trap you control. It's just straight up you do it. They do gain power from it though, specifies that they claim power. So with that we'll roll to see who goes first. Set up deployment. Oh, didn't even show you what the objectives are, sorry. 1 trap, 2 trap, 3 trap, 4 trap, and then the safe houses down the middle, kind of like the opposite way the gamma shelters are. Gamma shelters are usually deployment to deployment. This is other edge to other edge. Only one of them is the center, don't know which is which. So both teams are set up. The X-Men, Uncanny X-Men I guess I should classify, are set up on your left and the Brotherhood are on your right in the positions you see them. But there is 2 things to cover, one in the power phase and one as you start the game. It will be the Brotherhood going first, but we're just going to cover this both now because they're new mechanics. So when Magneto is on the board, if in the power phase there are not 2 metal constructs, he makes 1 within 3 of himself. He has chosen to make 1 here. For each one on the board, up to his maximum of 2, he generates extra power. So this turn he's generated 2, next turn if neither of them have been destroyed he can generate 3. He can initiate one of his attacks from it, he can throw them, anyone can throw them, they count as size 2. So it's a give or take. Do you want to get near them and risk getting attacked via them, or do you want to get rid of them to stop Magneto gaining power? It's an interesting mechanic, and in secure objectives they're obviously a nice little kind of almost like a sentry gun because they can explode, so it's within that trap distance there. The other thing to cover is that the Uncanny X-Men will be playing First Class, as I mentioned. It does not have a cost. At the start of the activation phase for any Uncanny X-Men, you can play it, and then each Uncanny X-Men, which is all of them, the first time they interact with an objective token this round, Battle Round 1, they don't have to spend power, so they get a free interact with whatever they choose to interact with. But it is the Brotherhood going first before this is played technically, but just getting that covered now as well. We'll jump into Battle Round 1 and the Brotherhood of Mutants. So it was Mystique that got this game started. She, like Sabretooth, moves long, so the Brotherhood have a lot of movement available to them there. And she double moved long to go all the way up the table to check the safe house. She spent her power and she got a successful check, of course, but it was not the Senator. So you're supposed to remove wrong safe houses. That safe house was empty, which means the Senator is either there or there by the car. So it's 50-50 chance for whoever gets to check the next one. We'll see what happens. Cyclops activated first for the Uncanny X-Men. He moved forward medium twice to check the safe house here, and as you can probably tell, he has indeed found the Senator. So that is now on his card. He moves small. I did also miss the second part of it. You roll one less defense die for holding the Senator as well. And one less dodge roll, sorry. So any defense rolls and dodge rolls, he rolls one less dice, which means if anything gets chucked at him, he's going to have a bad time. But it is on his person, and he can hopefully escape, but he's now got a big target on his back. I guess that also just means that would go away as well. The safe house we know is safe. Is there any reason to leave it on there? There might be, actually, for like web warriors to get a bonus if they're within contesting distance of an objective, maybe? It doesn't specifically say you remove the others, it only says you remove them when you check them and it's wrong. I don't know if that matters. We'll leave the central safe house there. I don't think it's going to matter for the characters on the board here, but I'm not sure how it would matter for everybody. Either way, it is back over to the Brotherhood. The Master of Magnetism, Magneto, activated, and he only moves small, but he does fly. So his first move was to float on top of that dumpster, so he was close enough to spend one of his 2 power to convert that trap to the Brotherhood. And then his only range 3 with his best range attack, so he couldn't quite reach Scott. So he moves short again to where you can see him. But Scott is also only moving short with the Senator. So he's going to be able to stick to him like glue. So we'll see how this pans out. Storm activated next, and she moves medium, and that is exactly what she did twice to get her into the position behind Scott that you can see there. She spent her 1 power to convert this trap to the Uncanny X-Men affiliation. So now both teams have 1 each. Sorry, and a quick correction in terms of misspeaking, not what was actually done. I think I erroneously said that Scott spent 1 power to pick up the Senator, just because that's what I'm used to saying. Obviously he did not, because X-Men First Class, or whatever it was called, First Class means that he didn't have to spend power. He just picked up the Senator because he interacted for free. Sabretooth was next up, and as previously stated, he also moves long like Mystique does, and he did so to get into position where you can see him. He spent his 1 power, and he did manage to convert that trap into the Brotherhood. Obviously, it's not going to hit anybody this turn, but it will provide a victory point. The angriest Canadian Wolverine was up next. He moves medium, and he did so in order to copy the same move everyone's been doing, essentially. Move next to a trap, spend his power, not spend his power, force of habit, because of First Class. Just interact with the trap and manage to convert it to Uncanny X-Men. So Toad was the final activation for the Brotherhood in Battle Round 1, but just to cover all bases of new rules, etc., in case you didn't see the unboxings of the X-Men miniatures, Wolverine and Sabretooth both have a new passive called Healing Factor. It kicks in at the end of their activation. Wolverine has Healing Factor 2, Sabretooth has Healing Factor 1. Obviously not relevant here because neither of them were hurt in their activations and they're not going to be, but just going forwards that's an option they'll have. Well, not an option, it just happens. Just in case I forget to mention it later on and you wonder how they're still alive, Healing Factor is a thing, and I'm sure Deadpool will have it when he's released next year as well. Anywho, it is over to Beast to end off Battle Round 1 proper. Once I show you where Toad ended up, because I forgot to do that, he moves medium, he double moved medium, straight down the middle to try and flank Storm and Cyclops. He's over there, and he's ready to do something next turn. So Beast moved medium 1.5, more or less. He didn't move his full medium, he could have got very close to Mystique. He opted instead to have a little bit of cover from Sabretooth there and stay near Wolverine. You don't want to leave one person near Mystique in case one of the tactics cards get used, the Deception one, for free. If she targets someone who's just by themselves, she can just make them move out of place, which can be very deadly. And that does take us to the scoring for Battle Round 1. So it's a simple enough scoring affair at the end of that round. The Senator is safely with Cyclops for 2 victory points, and the 2 traps closest to where they started are under their control for 1 each, for a total of 4 victory points. The Brotherhood obviously don't have the Senator, but they do have the 2 traps on their sides, so it's 4 playing 2 with the Brotherhood still going first in Battle Round 2, and there are no enemies close enough to any of the captured traps to set them off for 1 damage, so that's doing nothing this turn. So with that, we're jumping into Battle Round 2, and Magneto's going to make another Metal Construct. So Magneto was the first person to activate for the Brotherhood, and as you can see, he had a bit of a effective turn. His first act during the power phase was to place a second metal construct within 3 of him, and that's where he placed it. For his first action, he did his basic attack. If he's attacking someone within 2, he gets to reroll all attack dice, and Scott was within 2, and I've forgotten what the attack is called, but if he's further away than 2, you push away small afterward. Oh, reverse polarity, that's what it's called. So anyway, that did 5 damage to Scott, leaving him on 1 HP, because Scott, despite having 4 physical defense, rolled nothing. Then Magneto initiated, oh, what was the attack called? Hang on, it's a fun one. Shrapnel Blast, which is an area 2, but he can choose to make it happen from within a construct within 3 of him rather than himself. So he did it there. Storm and Scott were within 2 of that blast. It destroys it, so it's now gone, but it did 3 damage to Cyclops. It only needed to do 1. He is dazed. He dropped the center. Magneto has paid 1 to pick it up. And Storm took 4 damage. She's got 1 left on her healthy side. Magneto is scary. Sorry, a little addendum. Magneto continues to be scary because he used his superpower, which is totally called Force Projection, I think. Sorry, no, Fatal Attraction, which he can spend 1 to 4 power. He had 3 power left after picking up the center. He spent 3 to pick up the size 3 car, and you can chuck it long. And he can also do it as many times in a turn as he wants, as long as he pays plus 1 more power each time he uses it. Over the size of the thing he's throwing, I guess. So if you're throwing a size 2, next time you're going to be spending 3, assuming it's still a size 2, etc. Anyway, he threw that at Aurora, and she took 4 damage from it. She whiffed her roll. So that was a double daze on both leaders of the Uncanny X-Men. They were both not getting a turn. Forgot to mention as well, after the Shrapnel Blast, she would have been stunned. So would he, but he was already dazed, but it also did stun. But either way, she is also dazed. And he's got no power left now, but getting the 5 power from Scott whiffing his defense roll just let him unleash the beast. So reeling from Magneto's attack, Wolverine more than made up for it. No, almost made up for it. He moved medium and he went after Mystique with a Adamantium Slash, which is a 5 physical. He got 3 wilds and a crit on the attack roll. Wilds, bleed, and pierce. She got 1 defense, which was converted to a fail by the pierce. She does have martial arts, so blanks would have counted as well, but that did not save her. She took 5 damage and has been insta-dazed, so Mystique will not be getting a turn. So that's clawed something back at least, although now she's sitting on a lot of power. It's over to Toad or Sabretooth. So now no longer needing to come in for a flanking attack, Toad instead just came over here and spent 1 power to convert this trap to the Brotherhood. He can actually interact with objectives within 2 as opposed to 1, but he got up close and personal because obviously Storm and Cyclops are both flipping their cards next turn and have a lot of power. So it's over to Beast to end off the turn for the Uncanny X-Men, and then back over to Sabretooth. Beast moved up medium for his first activation, then he initiated an acrobatic strike, 5 physical for his free attack on Sabretooth. He only did 1 damage, which Sabretooth is going to automatically heal via healing factor at the end of his turn, so that's negligible. He got a wild though, which means he gets to be placed within 1 of his target. So he flipped himself, he flipped over his head, landed next to the objective and spent 1 power to convert it, and he succeeded in converting the trap to Uncanny X-Men. Sabretooth obviously has the chance to change it back. We'll see what happens, because he is ending off Battle Round 2. So Sabretooth did not move for his activation, he merely initiated 2 attacks, both on Beast. The first one got through with a wild, so it did 1 damage and bled him. The second whiffed entirely, but he spent 1 power to try and convert the trap there. He succeeded in converting it back to the Brotherhood. That means at the end of the turn, Beast is taking an additional 1 damage and 1 power from being hurt by the trap. So what an amazing turn there for the Brotherhood, largely thanks to Magneto getting a double daze. He's going to be eternally grateful to Cyclops for giving him so much power to play with, and goodness is he scary if he has lots of power to play with. So anyway, score-wise, the Brotherhood have the Senator, and they have 3 of the 4 traps, putting them up to 7 points and taking the lead. the Uncanny X-Men gained a paltry 1 victory point for still holding that trap there that isn't close enough to damage anyone, so that puts them on 5. They will be getting first turn in Battle Round 3 though, so there's a chance to come back. Storm and Cyclops are going to be sitting on a lot of power. Let's see if either of them can do something with it. So Cyclops got Battle Round 3 started and he initiated a hit and run for 2 and then an optic devastation for 3. So that's a move and an attack. Sorry, an attack then a move. He fired his largest death beam at Magneto. He spent 2 to do force projection, so he gets to use his 6 mystic defense, although it comes down to 5 because he's holding the Senator. He took 3 damage from it, all said and done. It also drains 1 power, but presumably you still gain power for the wounds you took. So he gained 3 and then -1. Then, that's where Cyclops moved with the free move as part of the hit and run. He then initiated his basic laser beam attack. 2 power spent from Magneto again to use his mystic defense, and the 5 dice were more than enough to block it, so it did nothing. Scott then spent 1 power to convert this trap to Uncanny X-Men, and it succeeded. I can't remember if I also pointed out, but that's where Magneto has made his other metal construct appear for the turn. So it was Sabretooth who activated first for the Brotherhood, and first of all he did a basic claw attack on Beast and did 2 damage. Then that gave him the 4 power required to do a Savage Predator, I think it's called, which is his best attack. It has Pierce on it, and it has, his basic claw has Pierce on it, sorry. The Savage Predator attack has Finisher on it, so if you get a hit in a wild, which he did, you get to do a free claw attack. Now that's unnecessary for Beast, because just doing the Savage Predator attack did 5 damage. He already had 4 on him, he only needed to take 2, so Beast is dazed and will not be getting a turn. Now, the claw attack you get for free if you get Finisher procced does not say it has to be on the same target. So presumably it's okay that Sabretooth then unleashed that free claw attack he got, in which you can reroll any missed attacks, on Wolverine for 4 damage. Now Wolverine, in order to counter this, has spent 3 power to play Exceptional Healing. It's a reactive. Any character with the healing factor can play this. You spend 3, it reduces the amount of damage taken to 1. So that 4 is actually just 1, and presumably again it doesn't say it has to be on the same character. So that free claw attack was done correctly. Sabretooth is pretty vicious. Storm was the next up, and first she spent 1 power to try and convert this trap with Toad nearby for interference and failed. So her first actual action was to move medium to where you can see her, and then she unleashed her best attack, Hurricane. It's area 2, it does not affect teammates, and anyone with the fly innate power automatically takes 1 damage. Magneto did not have enough to use his mystic defense. He was down to 2 dice because he's holding the center. He took 5 damage, he only needed to take 3, so he is dazed. He dropped the center. Storm has also paid 1 to pick it up, so it's now on her person, and she's holding it, and that's all she could do. So Magneto is down and will not be getting a turn, meaning it's over to Mystique or Toad. Mystique activated next, and first of all spent 3 power to use Espionage on Logan. It would guarantee a stun, however he is immune to it, so he doesn't have that happen to him. He did take 2 damage from it, which he is going to heal after he activates, because he is the only other one who can activate for the X-Men. So then she did further action, she moved along, and then spent 1 power to convert this trap to the Brotherhood. They are back to claiming 3. So Mystique had made sure that she was over 3 away from Wolverine, so he couldn't just initiate an attack that would make him end up next to her. But she forgot that he is the best at what he does, which is a move followed by a free Adamantium Slash. He did it on her, she took 2 damage, then he spent 3 for a Berserk Barrage, which did 3, which is enough to kill her, but just for the record, because it did damage, and she's size 3 or less, he can actually throw her, so he could have chucked her into that building for 1 extra damage. Mystique is gone, and then he spent 1 power and converted that trap there to the Uncanny X-Men. So now it is over to Toad to end off Battle Round 3. So Toad, being the good toady that he is, I'm so sorry for that pun, moved medium twice to get next to Magneto. He spent 1 power and he was able to get over the fact that Cyclops was nearby and converted that trap to the Brotherhood. So that does mean as the turn ends, Cyclops is taking 1 damage and 1 power from that trap hurting him, but none of the others are near anybody who is conscious because Beast is dazed, and that takes us to the scoring. So the center is changing hands every single turn. The Uncanny X-Men have the center on Storm for 2 victory points, and of course Logan took the trap down there for 1, giving them 3. and the other 3 traps are all controlled by the Brotherhood for 3 victory points as well. So as we go into turn 4, with the Uncanny X-Men still taking first activation, it is 10 playing 8 in favour of the Brotherhood. Cyclops got Battle Round 4 started off with a blast. For some reason I can't stop punning now. Either way, he opened up with an Optic Devastation Beam 5, because Toad unfortunately left himself close enough to Magneto that a beam straight down the middle of them hits them both. He hit Toad for 6, so Toad is insta-dazed and will not be getting a turn. He hit Magneto for 4, despite Magneto spending 2 for Force Projection to get 6 defense dice. It would have done 9 damage because of all the crits. He blocked 5. So he did really good defense, it's just Cyclops had an amazing attack roll. He then, for his other actual action, did a standard beam attack on Magneto. Magneto once again used 2 power for Force Projection and blocked all but 2 damage. So he's at 4, 5, 6. He's only got 2 health left on his wounded side, but he took a lot of punishment there. Then Cyclops spent 1 power to convert this bomb, or attempt to, and as you can see, he succeeded. So Magneto activated and he played Magnetic Crush, which in theory is a fantastic card. It makes him do this attack, range 4, 6 physical, and you spend 5 to play it. So you get 6 dice base, and he targeted Storm. However, you can choose to destroy any size 3 or less terrain within 2 of the target, so both his metal constructs got destroyed, and they add their size to the roll, and they count as size 2, so that brought it up to a 9 dice attack. Sorry, 10, right? Because it started at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I can count. It was a 10 dice attack. She's just lucky that bin was barely out of range, and so was this, because that would have been 4 more on top of that to bring it to 14. Now that said, the roll for the attack wasn't that great. Oh, and also, sorry, before damage is dealt, anyone within 2 of the target suffers 1 damage, so Cyclops took 1 damage. Storm, she only took 3. She did okay. So then Magneto just did his basic reverse polarity, and it did 1. Again, her defense roll was pretty good. So she's taken 4 damage. I think she has 2 left on her wounded side. Not as good as it could have been. Magnetic Crush can be amazing. It was just an unfortunate dice roll. But Magneto's rolls so far have been great, so it's about time he got a bad one. Wolverine activated next. He moved up medium and then did an Adamantium Slash on his old chum Sabretooth and did 2 damage plus a bleed through to him. He will heal 1 of that damage on his turn, assuming he gets rid of the bleed, because otherwise the bleed will just counter his healing effect, because they both happen simultaneously. And it is over to Sabretooth to end the turn for the Brotherhood, because Toad is down. So Sabretooth actually played very cautiously, played the objectives rather than giving in to his animalistic rage. He made use of the fact he can move long, snuck round Wolverine, paid 1 power to try and convert this trap, succeeded, and then also for his other action got rid of his bleed, so that means his healing factor kicked in and he did heal 1 damage. So he is sitting on 1 damage remaining, and with that it is over to Storm to end off Battle Round 4. Sorry, Beast also does still get an activation. How could I forget about Kelsey Grammer? Beast is Kelsey Grammer in my heart forever. Anyway, Storm did activate first though, and she spent 4 on another Hurricane. Even though only Magneto was close by, Magneto spent 2 for Force Projection to protect himself. It did 1 damage, however, because he has the innate flight rule. Oh, because it only did 1 because he was doing 6 defense dice, in case that isn't obvious. As I said, he used Force Projection. Because it has the flight keyword, it does 1 automatic damage, so that actually is enough to take Magneto out. She then retreated, however, because she's holding the centre, she can only move small, and she didn't want to get close enough that this would hurt her at the end of the turn, so she's just out of 2, because she couldn't get close enough to try and convert it. So with that, it is over to Beast to end the turn. So first of all, Beast spent 1 power to interact with the objective up here and managed to successfully convert it. He then moved medium, and thanks to his medium base, he was close enough to also convert that. But first, he spent power for an animalistic freestyle or beatdown on Sabretooth. It only did 1 damage, but he got a wild, so he gets a floats like a ... which means if a character is size 3 or less, he pushes them away from him small, so that's why Sabretooth is where you see him. It also does bleed on a wild, and then he spent another power to try and convert that objective, and he succeeded. So that does take us to the scoring. No one is getting hurt by an objective, so yeah, it's just straight on to that. So with Magneto and Mystique off the table, it is not looking good for the Brotherhood, especially because a lot of the traps have been converted to the X-Men's side. Aurora still has the Senator for 2. They have 1, 2, 3 bombs, so they gained 5 victory points that turn, taking them to 13. The Brotherhood just have this poultry trap here, which isn't close enough to hurt, for 1 victory point. So we are going into Battle Round 5. The Brotherhood do get first turn, although they'd have to do a lot to stop the X-Men. They need to get 3 victory points to win. The Brotherhood would have to get 5, which probably isn't going to happen, but they'll go down fighting. Sabretooth would want it that way. So yeah, they're going first. Let's jump into Battle Round 5, see what happens. Toad activated and spent 1 power to try and convert this trap and succeeded, so it's back to Brotherhood. He moved medium and then he spat acid at Storm, which does the incinerate automatically. It did 1 damage and that was enough to take her out. She was tired after taking on Magneto the whole game. So Storm is gone, she dropped the center and Toad has picked it up for 1 power. So now really the only thing that matters is if Scott can convert this and kill Toad, because he's only got 3 health on his weak side. There's no way the Brotherhood can take this. If Scott manages to do a very Scott Summers thing and mess up, there's a chance. Scott had 1 job. Well, I mean, technically he had 2. He achieved 1. He spent a power and he did convert this. He shot a death beam at Toad, however, he also spent for hit and run, so he would get a free move afterwards. He did this because Toad, it was obvious rather, he was going to spend 2 power to do Slippery, which gives him a free medium move after he's been attacked. So he attacked, it did 1 damage, Toad blocked the 1 damage because the attack roll was garbage. Scott moved medium, Toad moved medium, so they were still equidistant. Scott fired at him again and did 2 damage. Toad then also used Slippery again just to be insert bad word here, and moved over here. So he took 2 damage, he needed 3 damage to die, so he's not gonna. He is holding the Senator. Now, the X-Men are still poised to gain 3 because all of the things are in their control, or 3 of them are rather, and that's enough. Sabretooth still has a chance to convert 1 back, although it is over to either Beast or Logan. If they can stun Sabretooth, it's still over. Also, I think I was going Batman angle there. Was thinking about what to do. So as usual, it's up to Logan to save the day when Cyclops messes up. He moved once, medium, and then he initiated Berserk Barrage, which forces him to move within 1 of his target. He did 4 damage all said and done on Sabretooth. It would have bled as well if he wasn't already bleeding, I think, but that's irrelevant. That's exactly enough with the 2 damage he had on them to stun him, meaning he's not getting a turn this turn. He doesn't have a chance to convert 1 of these bombs, so that does mean that that is game. So just to be clear with the final scores there, the X-Men only scored 3 points from having 3 of the traps claimed for them. The Brotherhood had 1 trap left over, the one down here, and of course Toad is hiding down here in the pond with the Senator for 2 for a total of 3 victory points. So it was actually a super close game. The final score, X-Men got exactly enough to win, 16, and the Brotherhood got 14. That was actually a pretty awesome match. They were pretty evenly matched as well, despite the Brotherhood having 1 more threat. Magneto fighting Cyclops and Storm for the whole thing over here was great. We got to see some fun attacks. He's very tanky, he's very scary and dangerous. If it was only 1 of them attacking him, they wouldn't have stood a chance. That was just, yeah, they're awesome in general. I'm curious how a mixed team would fare with a higher threat value against one of the other hard hitters, like an Asgardian team featuring MODOK or you know, a optimized Defenders team. I'm very curious, which was probably what we'll see next time. We'll see a Brotherhood and X-Men team up against something while we wait for new releases in January. Although for everyone who's already got Angela and Enchantress, that'll just be She-Hulk, I think. But of course we do have the Wave 2 X-Men to look forward to. They've done a trailer for Deadpool, Bob of Hydra, Mr. Sinister, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, Cable and Domino. And that's my phone ringing, so that's as good a time as any to say thank you very much for watching. Please do show your support and see you next time for some more Crisis Protocol. Ta-ta for now.